welcome to today's episode of the Mom Spring Show. Is yours truly, Abisola, founder of Mom Spring and host of the Mom Spring Show. Today is going to be an amazing day. We've got a full show with the mothership, with a founder and a 9-to-5 shiro. Stay tuned. It'll be amazing.
Welcome to the Mom Spring Show. Welcome to the Mom Spring Show. Let's say it together. It's the Mom Spring Show. It's the Mom Spring Show. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's the Mom Spring Show. Welcome to Mom Spring.
It's the Mom Spring Show, where anything is possible.
Candy! Candy! Candy!
All right. Today on our 9-to-5 Shiro segment, the segment where we profile a woman who's doing amazing things as an entrepreneur or someone who works for someone else to build an organization. We are profiling today Abosede George-Ogan. She's a tri-sector leader with over 15 years of experience working across the non-profit, private, and public sectors. Wow. As a development professional. She began a career in development over 10 years ago with Action Aid International in Nigeria and has moved on to coordinate CSR and corporate citizenship for Keystone Bank, First Bank, and Samsung Electronics West Africa. She's currently the Director of Strategy, Partnerships, and Stakeholder Management as the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, also known as LSCTF, also known as a funder of startups and a supporter of startups. Abosede George-Ogan has a degree in political science, public administration from Igbinedion University and a Master of Science in Communication for Innovation and Development from the University of Reading. Abosede is the founder of Women in Leadership Advancement Network, a platform that engages, encourages, equips, and empowers women in Nigeria to get involved and participate in politics. She's the author of Building a Conscious Career, where she shared useful tips on how to build a fulfilling and financially rewarding career while also positively affecting the life of others. Welcome, Abosede.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's really amazing to have you with us because not only are you a 9-to-5 shiro, you're encouraging others to even build careers that are fulfilling. So tell us about the journey to writing this book. What inspired it?
So, it's very interesting because I've always wanted to write a book, but I found myself working with the Lagos State government that actually gives 6 months maternity leave, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. So I was pregnant with my twins, and of course, because I was going to go away, I went away earlier. And so I had a lot of time, basically. And I figured, 6 months is a long time. And I'm excited that at the end of that will be, in my case, 2 babies. But I was like, what else can I do? Mm-hmm. And that's what birthed actually writing the book. So I've always had the book in me, and I really wanted to support people to build conscious careers, which is what I definitely would describe my career as.
So what do you mean when you say conscious career?
So I define a conscious career as a career that personally fulfills you, financially rewards you, but is sort of surrounded around impact or adding value to others.
I see.
So that's what I define as a conscious career as, and definitely what I recommend that everyone should be building.
Why is it important to have a conscious career?
I mean, I feel like, and this, I like to use this illustration. I feel like we know two types of people, right? So there's the one who has the really good job, they have a lot of money in the bank. They've got the position as well, right? And then we've got this like other group of people who are doing what we will consider passion work, but are broke, right? So oftentimes you find people in these two categories. Now, what you find is that the person who's, who has this really good job and is making a lot of money, has this position, gets to a point where they're like, I just feel like something is missing, right? There's a gap. I want to do more. And oftentimes that manifests itself with these people going to start NGOs, right?
Right.
Because they feel like, I want to give back now. I want to, do something impactful. And then for the people who, oftentimes start off passionate, maybe doing impact work, they just don't know how to translate that to money. Right? It's almost like I work for an NGO where I'm supposed to be broke, or I'm not supposed to make a lot of money because I'm doing good. And so what I recommend is that the truth is you shouldn't have to choose. Our work is our life. And I feel like if you're going to spend your life doing something, it had better be something that actually personally fulfills you, but also financially rewards you, because as I, learned recently, broke cannot help a broke. So it has to be financially rewarding you in a way that, yes, it gives you personal fulfillment, but ultimately it is transforming lives. I really think that that's why we're all here, to be honest.
So when was the book launched?
So it was launched May 1st, 2018. A few months after the kids were born. Yeah.
Amazing. So tell me about how you've managed to be an author, also working full-time, and because the responsibilities of being an author beyond just writing the book. You have to promote the book, you have to keep speaking about it. And how do you manage those two things? And then somewhere here, I remember reading about you creating a platform to engage women in politics. How do these things link together?
So it links together actually because I live a conscious life generally. And again, when I think about sort of Women in Leadership Advancement Network, it was also born out of the fact that at some point I was doing a review of my goals, my life goals. And I said to myself, since I was 16, I said I wanted to be president of Nigeria. And at the time, I'm sitting looking at myself and, I had become older and more rational. And I'm like literally, I remember the day I laughed out loud thinking, you must be a joker. Like, how? Where? When? How do you even start? Right? And I realized that there's just no platform, right, where women can go if they were interested in politics. And really, that was it. And because I'm a repentant procrastinator, I said to myself, you know what, I'm not going to give myself excuses. So I literally went to Instagram and I opened a page called Women in Politics NG. Right. And I was like, look, I'll find my tribe. I'll find my people. And that's really how, it's now registered as a nonprofit called Women in Leadership Advancement Network, WILLEN. And that's how WILLEN started. And it's interesting because in 6 months, I did find our tribe, of women who I call closet politicians, right? Who probably were talking about it in their little corners, but then now had a platform to interact and to connect.
Well done. So how has that been, creating a network like that with your responsibilities with the LSCTF and as an author? How do you balance that? We haven't even talked about family yet.
Yeah, I know.
Even those responsibilities.
So, and I feel like, full disclosure, I'm a millennial, even though, tail end, but I am a millennial. So I guess that there are things in there about us wanting to use all of us, right? And so it's just understanding what your responsibilities are and how you sort of balance time management and the other things. And if we do eventually talk about the support structures that you have really to enable you do all of these things. But again, that's why I talked about my maternity leave, because really it just created time. So in my 6 months, I wasn't working full time, and so created a lot of headspace for me to reflect and to say, okay, so what are the other things that I feel like I should be doing? And so it was in that time I kind of conceptualized both the book and, this idea of willing, right? And then set things in motion. So by the time I got back to work, to be honest, it was almost like it's now plug and play, and it's just about you prioritizing. So 8 to 5, I work for LSTF, even though that's not true. I work, 8 to probably whatever longer. But, it's about knowing what and when and where and how.
Wow. So you said something about support structures. What do you mean when you say that?
So, when you think about the popular question around, can women have it all? The answer to that is that women can have it all, but per time. So, support structures really help us to have it all per time, right? And so do I want to go on a couple's holiday with just with my husband and I? Well, but we've got 3 kids. So what happens to the 3 kids while we're gone away? Right. You need a support system to look after them, right? What happens when it's pickup time, like school pickup time right now that I'm here?
Yeah.
So I've got a support structure helping me to pick the kids so that I can be here. Yeah. Or if I had to be at work, there's a support system that enables me, do that. Exactly. So it's really a support structure that helps you do the balancing act, if we're being honest.
So what does your support structure look like?
So my support structure, I definitely think that starts with my partner. That's my husband, who's amazing. I have to be very honest. And, it's a little bit about that, partnership. It's understanding that it's a partnership and we both have roles to play, and understanding that those roles will change per time as well. So it starts with my husband, but then we've also got, so in my case, I have my sister-in-law living with me, and that has been a tremendous blessing. I've also got 2 nannies who also actually combine sort of childcare and domestic work. And then we've also got a chef who comes in a number of times a week, to help with food. And then, we've also put in place things like a washing machine, so the nannies don't have to worry about.
So they're not exerting themselves as much.
Exactly.
So they're more present.
Do you know what I mean? With the kids especially, right? And then we got a chef as well for that reason, that, let them not be in the kitchen, right? Thinking about, what do we cook? And, the rice was burning, and that's when Yada
this
fell.
other thing happened.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
And so kind of take care of them, right? And get other people to take care of them while they're taking care of other people. Exactly.
That's very thoughtful, because you thought about their own comfort as well.
Absolutely.
And the reality is, the more comfortable your domestic staff is, the more present they're going to be to do what you actually want them to do.
I absolutely agree. And even beyond that, with domestic staff, we've been extremely blessed. But if I think about like a practical tip that then definitely enhanced us being blessed, it's the fact that we always want to know what their life goals are and what are they working towards. And the fact that, if you understand that what you're trying to achieve, is actually work so you can save to open a salon, then you're not working for me, you're actually working for yourself. So you're better off doing that job really well, because it leads to your own progress as well. I think it's a totally different dynamic.
For alignment. That's really,
So it's not like you're doing me a favor. It's actually a mutually beneficial relationship.
Right. I like how you've basically taken, what a lot of smart companies do with professionals, really, and say, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And then they align your experiences on the job to get you to that place. And that's what you've basically implemented at home with your staff. That's brilliant. So it says here that you're the Director of Strategy, Partnerships and Stakeholder Management, a mouthful, of the LSTF. What does this mean?
Okay, So the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund was set up by the government of Lagos to create jobs in Lagos, right? So this is Africa's largest city by population, and you're trying to create jobs for maybe 4 million of the 20 million who do not have jobs and are willing and able to work. So what that looks like is there's a strategy to be able to deliver on the job creation mandate, right? And my team is sort of responsible for ensuring that everyone in the organization is working towards achieving that strategy. So in terms of performance management and things like that. And just ensuring that we're reviewing that strategy as we go along to ensure that it's eyeball, we're achieving that. We also look after sort of communications and stakeholder management, and that's like the whole gamut, online, offline, stakeholder management as a whole. Then fundraising is a crucial part of the work that we do. So ensuring that we're growing the funds within LSCTF that has been committed by government. And then, of course, finally, we do some policy and research work as well to enable the sort of job creation ecosystem in Lagos. So it's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot. So that's why you're doing quite a bit with small businesses and startups, so that as you help them develop, the job creation is happening.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's a really simple theory of change where we're saying if we're able to support small businesses, they would grow, expand. First of all, you even increase their chances of being alive, right?
Sure.
Beyond 5 years and all of that. And then they will grow, expand, and create more jobs.
Right.
If you train people with the right skills that are on demand, they would be better equipped to be placed in jobs. And finally, we know the sort of catalytic effect that innovation has when it comes to job creation. And it's the fact that if you support technology startups, then potentially there could be unicorns that then sort of scale to create jobs, on a sort of exponential level. Yeah.
Wow. So if there's a mom who's thinking, okay, maybe in the future, I want to work in government, or support government as what you're doing in LSCTF, or maybe even considering politics, or even thinking like me, for example, a few years ago, I think before I met you actually, I just thought politics run the other direction. And I think after meeting you over the past few years, I've come to realize that, to be honest, I think especially as a parent, you need to actually care about politics.
Absolutely.
Because politics is what shapes the environment that we're living in.
Absolutely.
The realities of security, education, healthcare. And once you become a mom, you start to realize, oh my goodness, these things are important, especially because you think you almost feel like you're invincible because you're an adult. But when you see how vulnerable your baby is and you're like, wait, in this healthcare environment, in this, no, we need to sort this out.
Yeah.
And it's politics is the avenue, and shaping policy is the avenue for that.
Yeah.
So, why do you think? I mean, so first, I wanted you to talk to the woman who's early on in her career and thinking, like me, run away from politics. Why should she consider politics? And then even shed some light on why politics even matters to us as parents.
Okay. So to the woman, I mean, definitely I'm a believer that we all have sort of different callings, purposes, and parts to play exactly in the whole puzzle. But one of the things when we even think about the future of work, and I hope this is not the digression, but I feel like the most important thing as a young mom and all of that is to be relevant, especially in the workplace. And so a critical part of that is continuous learning, right, and continuous improvement. So I will say that you need to be very well-rounded, and this is my theory. So I started off working in international development, I've worked in private sector, and now public sector. Of course, destination is elective office, but it doesn't have to be like that for everybody. People might be very sector specific or sort of be in a certain profession, right? But the truth is you do have like a role to play in ensuring that you are gaining the skills and competencies that you need for your next level, right? And so, to be honest, that's like how I would say, as a mom, you should sort of plan or chart your course, if you know what I mean. If public sector plays a role in that, then definitely do it. But I think the way it works is when you have an area of expertise, then that could be called upon, right?
True.
In service to nation.
True.
You know what I mean? That sense of patriotism is not as evident or eminent here in Nigeria, but to be honest, build yourself so that we can sort of reference, or we can call upon that area of expertise or competence when the need requires. So that is how, say, a young mom can then sort of participate in policy or politics. But specifically with politics, I think, as you've said, it affects all of us. Ignoring it doesn't even change that. And that's the truth, right? And you've spoken to the thing. So there's overwhelming evidence, right, that when women are in positions of leadership, everyone benefits. And that's a real conversation. It's not really men against women. It's the fact that just based on how women are wired, right, they think about the community. They care for the things that really affect the human being, right? So healthcare, education, just your general well-being, right? And they're more long-term. It's just the way it is. And then women are generally more honest. So it's the nurture sort of instinct that we have. So there's overwhelming evidence to show that when women are in positions of leadership, everyone benefits. And if you think about policy, it affects every area of your life. So whether it's that you have a business and you're like, no, I'm running my little business here, I'm all right, nothing affects me. One policy can throw off that business, right? Whether it's the quality of education, right? Whether it's access to education, whether it's access to finance, whether it's access to healthcare and the quality of healthcare. So these are the type of issues that women have to concern themselves with, and therefore sort of links to who you vote to represent you so that they can represent the issues that affect you.
Wow. Well, on that note, we'll be back.
To the Monthly Show. Welcome to the Monthly Show. Let's stay together. It's the Monthly Show. It's the Monthly Show. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's the Monthly Show. Welcome to Mom Spring.
It's the Mom Spring Show, where anything is possible.
Candy! Candy! Candy!
That was a very insightful chat with Bose. And now we've got our femme founder of the day, Wande. Okay, so Wande's last name is a mouthful, so I'm not going to bother. I don't want to butcher it. Wande is a working mom and a passionate woman who's all about making sure women and mothers have a full life. In 2018, she created a platform called Love and Grace to help form a community for mothers from all walks of life through connective stories, events, and workshops. She's also a certified pre- and postnatal fitness specialist and works with women who need assistance in staying healthy before and after pregnancy. On the side of her business, she also creates jewelry, but we'll learn more. Wande, welcome.
Thank you.
So, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us about Love and Grace.
So Love and Grace was birthed from, I guess, becoming a mom. You as a woman, you think you know who you are until you actually become a mom. So when I became a mom in 2017, there was a lot of changes in my life, and there wasn't that much support that I could just embrace and say, oh, I guess you're going through something, this is support, this is how it works. It wasn't clear cut and dry. There was a lot that I was going through at the time I had my child, and a lot of relocations and job changes and a lot of family changes. So when I moved to Nigeria in 2018, I became a stay-at-home mom because I had resigned from my full-time job. I just couldn't manage everything with breastfeeding. My partner was traveling. It was just too much. So I wanted to kind of unlearn the culture of Nigeria and learn it again in my adulthood age, because I left when I was only 16. So coming to Nigeria was new for me. It was like even the way people make friends, the way people talk, the way people talk about culture, it was all different. So I said, this motherhood thing, no one really, sheds light on it, in the way that I would hope they would maybe support. Maybe because the culture we have in Nigeria is more so you have your mother, you have your grandmother, you have aunties, you have a big support system. But coming from overseas, it's not quite the same. You kind of have to manage and do everything on your own. So I wanted to form a community for moms where we could just be ourselves, talk about our real challenges, talk about our real life struggles, and form that community amongst one another, where I can call Abisola and say, Abisola, do you have diapers? And she delivers them ASAP, and I don't have to worry. Abisola, can you watch my daughter for just an hour? That kind of support system was readily available. And, having like-minded moms in the same room at the same time, sharing struggles, just made it clearer for me. So that's how Love and Grace was formed.
Wow. So would you call this a business or like a social impact project?
So it's more like a community organization, I guess, in terms of social impact. It's not a business.
Right.
Yeah.
And so over the past 2 years, how big has the community grown to now?
So the first event we had was November 2018. And one of the attendees at the first event we had was like, oh, Wande, please can you create this WhatsApp chats, so we can have, different people, just be on there and chat. If we have problems, we have issues. And I was very hesitant because I don't like WhatsApp groups because they get out of hand. But they were like, no, it would be nice. So I said, fine. So every event we had was like we would have more and more and more moms just join the group. So it kept expanding outside of the ones who are not even on the group.
Right.
So it's really grown.
Wow, amazing. So what do you expect out of the community over the next year?
So I guess a year from now, I'm hoping Love and Grace can actually not just be something that's done in Lagos alone, but go outside the state. I'm not going to form a lofty goal now and go outside Nigeria, but I'll go outside the state because someone had reached out to me and said, do you host events in Abuja and stuff? And I'm like, maybe in the future or near future we could, but not right now. But the next year, that's something I want to do, where we can have events and workshops outside Lagos and reach other moms who need assistance.
That would be amazing. There's a lot of need for that.
There is.
There's a lot of need for that. And so do you do this full time? Have you always done this full time since you started?
Yes, I have.
Wow. Amazing. So do you find that in your network you have more working moms or more stay-at-home moms?
I think I have about, let's say, 75% working moms and 25% stay-at-home moms. Yeah.
So there's a huge need, even with the working moms, for networks like these.
There is.
Yes. So there's a huge opportunity here, Wande.
There is.
We're going to talk offline about this, baby. Okay. And so what would you say is the most challenging thing with running a community like this?
I guess the one that comes to mind right away is when you are trying to host an event or form a workshop. I think one of the challenges I face is moms not being as open as you would think, because take, for instance, I have an event coming up in 2 weeks and someone had bought tickets for a few of our customers. She just wanted to give something back. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And then she called me today and said, they are shy. And I'm like, why? The theme of this event, I don't know, but they are shy. And I'm like,
so what's the theme of the event coming up?
The theme of the event is called the Modern Woman.
Okay.
So it applies to the single, the working mom, the stay-at-home mom, single mom, even a single woman or a married woman who doesn't have children yet. So it applies to the woman as a whole. So I don't know if there was some intimidation with, I'm not a working mom. And
so maybe modern means working to some people?
Yeah, or the 21st century woman who...
What's this whole working, non-working thing? Because
I know, right?
From what
every
I gather,
mom works,
every mom
right?
is kind of working hard. Like, whether it's changing diapers or, making sure groceries are on point, food is on the table.
I definitely agree.
Constantly on her feet. So
I
this
agree.
Working mom.
I think it's the way we've been socialized. We've been socialized to think that people that go to the office and desk are the only ones that are working.
Okay.
Right. While those who are breastfeeding at home or taking care of the house and their kids,
they're not busy.
They're just staying at home.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
But that's very incorrect. It's a very wrong way to look at it. Every mom is a working mom.
Right. But I think that's part of every mom is a working mom. Yes. I think that's part of the kinds of things that we need to change the rhetoric around, especially in this community.
I agree.
Around, the fact that every mom, no matter what her professional choice might be,
right?
She's to be respected. We're supposed to honor the ground she's walking.
I agree, 110%.
She's making the next chapter of life work, because without her, these homes are not. We're the glue that keeps the homes together.
Definitely.
So, well done with what you do. And okay, so we're going to have you all stay tuned, and we're going to go on the mothership, and I'll let you find out what the hot topic today is when we get on that ship.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Mothership. It's been an amazing first 2 segments, and on this segment today, first is Michelle with you here. If you didn't know already, the baddest in the building. You know what it is. Somebody's giving me shade, but I don't really care. So this topic is birthday. So, you people, oh God. I saw a video today of a woman's stomach vibrating. So there's an Instagram group with my mom, her sisters, and then myself. And it's just me and one of my aunts that, of course, have not had children. And so she sends the message to the group and she's like, is this true? And then I'm like, if this is true, count me out, please. I know, cancel my membership.
So what exactly were you trying to be counted out of?
I don't know, but
what did you see in this video?
The woman's stomach was vibrating, as in it was gyrating. I don't know what she was inhaling. But you said it was laughing gas.
It looks like she was. So sometimes when you're in delivery, they give you a gas that helps you kind of not feel the pain of what's happening. You can feel the sensation, but not the pain. So your pain receptors don't feel the pain.
And they were laughing.
So the lady kept laughing. So she was. I watched the video too. So the lady inhaled the gas. But it seemed like the gas was also making the baby get hype. So every time she inhaled it and she giggled,
it was a vigorous shake.
Not the baby.
Please, how much is surrogate? Because
literally,
you can't be shaking my stomach like that.
Is cost though. From what I hear, is they're looking 7 to 10 million roughly
of dollars, naira, cents,
naira.
Okay, baby, you just not shake like that. You just not shake too much. But I'm just like, bam. And then I think 2 weeks ago, I saw a video of a woman trying to clean herself after she'd given birth, and someone had said, oh yeah, that's because it's painful, so they can't rinse. I'm like, so even after all the epidural and everything, I'm still gonna go through that pain? Then if you see it now, my body will be healing for like 3-4 years.
No, not years now. It's not that. It's
but
really
they
not
say,
that bad.
I saw another post, so you have to split, like if you have if you give birth through cesarean, and you need to give your body time to heal. So at least a minimum of I think I saw 3 years. I think I saw 3 years before you can.
Well, that's what they say, but I know people who have had kids in a shorter time frame.
3 years. 3 years.
Yeah,
that's long.
That's
for
long.
CS.
Yeah, no, I've heard you should have a maximum of 3 CS operations,
like consecutive.
Yeah, consecutively. But I mean,
like the body heals layer per layer.
People know, they say your body recovers after 2 years, but we all know Nigerian women who have babies in January and December of the same year.
Absolutely true. I guess it also depends on if there are complications. So if you had complications in your C-section, it might take longer.
And you know, many times when they give recommendations, they account for the worst case scenario.
Yes.
So yeah, they won't give you.
You're cautious.
Yeah, they take the air on the side of caution.
But Bossy, I'm actually really eager to hear your birthing story because you had twins. How'd that go?
So I had a singleton first. So I have a daughter. So I birthed that one through my vagina. It's a regular delivery. But with the twins, I had a C-section.
Oh wow, you've had both experiences.
So all I needed to do was lie down.
And then just...
So to be honest, when I was pregnant with my first, I was just like, it has to be natural, just vaginal, whatever. And then the second time, I was so jealous of people that had, because basically it's like booking a hair appointment. Like,
it is
12 o'clock. On this day, we're having this child.
But isn't there pain after?
There's pain after, regardless having a baby.
Yeah, both ways. Because I feel like this was my experience, because I know that this is very personal to different people, but for my C-section, I feel like what I had heard was very exaggerated compared to my experience.
I see.
Yeah, so it was painful. Like literally,
what was painful?
So it was you have a scar, right? So that was painful, but I don't really think so. Beyond that pain is the fact that you're carrying, yourself around after you've done that. In my case, I was in the US, so when we talk about help, I had to do almost everything myself with the two babies. But I think that helped, if I'm being honest, because I didn't have time to sort of
sink into it. You have to be active.
I had to be active, and that helped. So again, and then, by the way, we have different pain thresholds.
True.
I don't consider myself having one of the best ones. But yeah, I just got up and went. So it's like not having a choice. But generally, I agree that regardless of which way you birthing
will be some
take its toll.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Think about it. Human being just came out of your body. Your body needs to be like, wow.
Yeah. Like what just happened, right? And how do we really,
you can barely deal with period pain, and then now you have to push a whole child out deep. Wande, how was your experience?
So let me start from labor. I was in labor for 23 hours, but the pushing was only 20 minutes, and she was out. And I'm like, you took us through labor for 23 hours, and then
just to make you wait.
Like I'm coming into the world.
So the funny part was after maybe like 10 hours after I had her, all the epidural started to wear out. So I was like, I didn't actually know, because when they're like, when you get your epidural, you're fine, you can't feel anything. I didn't really ask the questions about what if when she's not in my hands, what like 10 hours after she's in my hands, when I use the bathroom, all those things I didn't know. So I was like, they lied though. Like I'm feeling pain everywhere. I can't sit. I had to sit on a donut to feed her. When I was peeing, I had to use a spray bottle thingy. It was so many things, and then I had to use pain medication. They gave me for a whole week. And I'm like, what is going on? I thought the pain was over, but it lingered on for like 2 weeks.
But how long were you in pain for?
During labor or after maybe
labor.
like 9 days.
Yeah. So there's a deceptive side of the fact that they'll give you pain meds. I remember the day of my daughter's naming ceremony, after my first child. I'd been on like a schedule with my ibuprofen, like every 4 hours. I wasn't missing it, but because of all the excitement of what was happening, I forgot to take it. Next thing I was like, why am I shivering?
Oh my God,
what is wrong? And I was like, whoa, is this really what I'm like? What is
supposed to be healing?
What is being suppressed?
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't realize it because
that's so true.
When it warmed, I couldn't even sit down. I was just like, yeah.
No, I think you make a good point, because right now, if I think about it, I was just taking my meds right.
Yeah, take your meds on point. You won't feel nothing.
I finished it.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, my mom had, whenever I used to annoy her when I was younger, she'd be like, do you know what I went through? So I think one day, she and my grandma were talking, and she has one of the worst ever with me, though. So she went into labor, they cut her open, but they didn't give her enough pain. So they gave her, like, basic morphine. So they sewed her... They sewed her back, they stitched her back up with basic morphine, and she would tell me I was hitting the wall. So she would demonstrate her hitting the wall, because that's the pain she was feeling while you're... So I'm literally conscious while you're sewing my skin back together. And then the funny thing is, she had my brother 4 years later, and she said she didn't even realize when he'd come out.
Yeah.
Like, he just slid out. And even like the pain, because I was talking to her about the post I saw on women having that the spray bottle for themselves.
Yes.
She's like, did I go through that with you? I don't remember. I didn't. I didn't have that. And I'm like, oh, you didn't? And she's like, no, I don't remember. So she said he literally just slid out, and he's long, so he was a really long baby. He just came out, but that for me it was extreme. So I was like, okay, so it means you have it different with different women and different pregnancies also.
Yeah.
But man, it's just a whole thing altogether. And then I'm curious, so what would you say you wish you knew, or what kind of support would you say you wish you had when you were going into that experience? So like post pregnancy, of course, you've given birth now. What's looking back at it now, like Bosse for 2 pregnancies now and 3 children? Superhero.
I'll take it.
What would you wish you had to guide you through that experience in both scenarios?
So in my case, I couldn't breastfeed because I couldn't breastfeed.
It just
For the first or
just
the
wasn't
second time?
like nothing just came out.
Both, yeah.
Oh wow.
So, if there was a solution to that, and we tried everything, and I remember for my daughter, my first, I was forcing her to breastfeed because you've heard all these things about it's the best, and bonding and all of that good stuff. And so for the twins, I really sort of wanted to as well, but again, I was going to be starving the children. So again, you just wish you knew that you couldn't actually breastfeed.
Okay,
right?
So you just kind of prepared your mind and
yes.
rather than going
so
to
it
the
was
emotions
better.
of-
It was better for the twins because I moved on quickly, pretty fast.
Okay.
So that. Then the second thing I think is that how people say when you breastfeed, you don't put on weight or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of illegal. I don't know if
put
it's
some weight
real.
on you, and you don't get pregnant. People say
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Your birth control.
I was hungry a lot. Yes. Afterwards. So I feel like you put on weight from eating.
It's essential because I felt like if after every breastfeeding session, I'm like, I need food.
So even though I was not even like, milking like regular people,
Yes.
I found that every time I was hungry. So I wasn't ready for that because it was real. Like
Yes.
I knew I was hungry.
Yeah.
But what solutions did you eventually find for breastfeeding since you couldn't breastfeed?
So thank God for technology and plenty milks have advanced.
Yes, a lot of scientific research actually goes into formula.
Baby
To be honest, I think my pediatrician in the US told me once your baby gets to 4 months, if you're going to be breastfeeding, you need to supplement with vitamin D and iron because there's not enough in your body anymore to get to the baby. So, but then the milks have been formulated such that by that age, there's iron. So you just need to make sure you're doing your research well. If you're going to breastfeed, get the right supplements.
Yeah. So that's it. Really, it was about getting the best. But of course, as you know, this is now. Can you afford to buy the milk?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Which is where
story.
it gets. It's sort of specific to one's ability.
Milk adds up.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And
One pack of
when you're buying it
like
for two babies,
Try similar.
And then
It's
you
like
will not have
20-something.
a child that really has an appetite.
Oh yes,
You want to be
This is making me think of so yesterday at Mom's Spring Commerce, we got a DM. Someone said, "This baby is eating so much. I need extra milk."
I didn't plan for it.
I was laughing.
But I'm curious. Okay, so I know that with your twins, it was easier for you because you understood that you couldn't breastfeed. But how did that work for you with your first child? So I'm assuming you tried a bit.
Yes, I really tried with my first.
So how did that work for you as the individual?
Like, how did you deal with it?
Yeah, how did you deal with it?
I know. So, like I said, it wasn't easy, but so I basically breastfed her till she was 6 months. But I was sure that that was not a food.
But you still did it for 6 months.
Yes.
You made it seem like you didn't even breastfeed her for one day.
No. So with the twins as well, I tried for like maybe a month.
Right. I mean,
But and then even when you're pumping, you can see that nothing is coming out much. So like you can be sure that they're not going to feed from it. But with my daughter, the first, I was bonding, so it's almost like, okay, well, let's try. Yeah, so I did.
Okay. Wow. Wande, how is it for you? What did you wish you knew?
I think
Before?
ditto to what Boss has said. Breastfeeding for me. Breastfeeding was something that I didn't really plan for. So you know when you watch the movies, they're like, okay, baby is here, everyone is happy, they give the baby a bottle, baby cooperates, but you don't really ask questions like, okay, that formula, is that breast milk, is that you don't think in so much depth until it actually happens to you.
Right.
So when it happened to me, there was actually one day I called 911. I was actually scared. I was like, she's not drinking. There's nothing coming out from my breast. You need to help me. She's going to die. Like, I was scared.
Yeah.
Like, I had a panic attack. I was running up and down, and my husband wasn't back from work that day. So it was really bad. I was like, oh my God, she might die. Like, I need to feed her. So you know how the first milk is the colostrum?
Colostrum,
yeah. So you're like, but the doctors are like, no, that's all she needs. I'm like, no, she needs more. She
But
needs
that colostrum is really tiny. It's like, are you sure?
like 3 drops. I'm like, how is she going to survive on this? And you tell me that's all she's supposed to eat.
Right.
So breastfeeding for me was the one. But then once I got the hang of it, smooth sailing.
Right.
And she was enjoying it too, because my mother-in-law was there for the first 3 weeks. After my mother-in-law left, she didn't want the bottle anymore, but the bottle was my breast milk.
Yeah.
So she was like, Mommy is here and Boob is here. Why am I?
But you know, it's
getting
also
the bottle?
like, why can't I just get like direct
from the
contact?
source.
Direct
That's-
access.
Yeah.
It's already
that
warm.
thing.
You don't need to pre-warm it.
Do you
She was like,
understand?
kick the bottle, like whatever, like don't do this, move the bottle away. So I would give her directly, and it was getting easier, I think, because I stopped pumping, and the baby is your best pump. They get out more for you than the pump.
So that's what I was going to talk about with my own breastfeeding challenges was, okay, so at first there was a lactation consultant in the hospital, which was such a big deal for me because I struggled those first few days. I'm like, she's not eating. I don't know. I kept crying. She's not eating. And then she was like, just keep trying. Like, don't give up.
Don't
like,
give
it
up,
hurts.
right.
It was actually painful sometimes because I'm like, but after she figured it out, after my daughter figured it out, I started to come out. But then trying to pump and also breastfeed, I think the biggest shock for me was how much time it took. Because a pumping session takes like 30 minutes. And at least, and the pumps of those days, you couldn't do anything else except maybe hold your phone at an angle. Now they have pumps that literally fit in your bra, but they cost like an arm and leg. But hey, at least the technology is getting there. And they sounded like a pumping machine. So they were very like in your face. So I think the amount of time it took, so I'm like, okay, I've done this for 30 minutes, then I got maybe like 3 ounces. She's gonna eat that in the next feeding. I have to quickly plan to pump another one. So I felt like I was pumping all the time, or either pumping or feeding all the time. Like I wasn't doing anything in between.
But Abisola, what was your reason for pumping?
So that I could sleep at night.
So your husband could feed her?
Yeah, because grandma was around.
Okay.
And so actually the entire month that grandma was around, I slept all night long.
Wow.
Yes, because she wouldn't even wake.
Shout out to the
She would,
grandmas.
hello. She would just go, and it was when she left, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Rude shock.
You know, realize.
I have to
So you
say,
could actually sleep with no problems? Like, you didn't have any
I
issue?
didn't even know when she woke up to eat. That's how well I slept good.
Man,
So, but then as soon as I woke up, I would be like really full. I needed to pump immediately.
Yes.
So I think it was just how much time it took. And then the other thing was when it was time to wean. Oh, that child was like,
That's another thing.
I don't want that other milk. And at 6 months, she was like, I want it direct too. Like she just went the other way.
Auntie.
The way we had to break it was, I think I had to travel for work.
Okay.
The first day, apparently she didn't eat at all. The second day, she's like, oh boy.
I have no choice.
Hunger.
But I think one thing I did wish I knew was, well, I'm not sure if I wish I knew, to be honest. When I had my first, I kept telling my mom, why didn't anybody tell us all this recovery, all this pain, all these things? And she's like, they don't want to discourage you. But at the same time, I think when you know, you can be prepared. And
Yeah, because you when you expect something, your reaction to it is different.
you don't feel
Like
as
when
if
you
it's
don't-
something bad is happening to you. You're just like,
But
okay.
it just hits you.
But if you're a first-time mom, do you think you can ever really be prepared? Because it's new. It's
I understand, but
completely
so
new.
for example, epidural, I kept saying, okay, I don't even want any pain and any pain support. After being in that hospital for 3 days, before, because my pain threshold is quite high, so I'm like, no, I'm fine. I don't need anything. By day 3, after that was heartbroken, I think 4 hours later, I'm like, guys,
I need it.
But I had read about epidurals. I knew that you had to stay still because it's dangerous for your spine. So I was just like, I felt something cold on my back. It was just like, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I read that online. It's going to be cold, whatever. Even my husband was watching me and he was flinching, and the doctor was like, Why
You're the one that's thinking.
It's your wife.
Because I was ready for it. But then, because even all the different options for pain, I knew about them. So I was like, but then the aftermath of sitz bath, I was just like, what's happening? Is this normal? What's going on? Because I'd never heard about it. I'd never been
But aren't they
informed.
supposed to like tell you that in like antenatal if you do go? Because I feel like that's the place for antenatal care. The point I wanted to make is my sister said this to me, and I think it might be true or my experience, that your body forgets.
Oh yeah, your body forgets.
So the point is that your body forgetting is not that you didn't feel the pain, but it's like you get past it.
Yes.
And you are the same person that will go and do it again. So, do you get, so even after
So last, it wasn't that bad.
you know what I mean? So even if they prepared you, do you know what I mean?
Like,
you
will
still
it really
carry
make a
yourself.
difference?
And some people will do it 3
You carry your leg
times or
as 4
4 times. So
I think
it's interesting.
it's almost like,
because it's
you know,
just the power
Another
of
thing
a
is,
woman.
another thing is, my mom says it's the gratification. That when you look at the child, you're like, okay, yeah,
You're
it was
worth
worth
it.
it.
It was worth it. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was
So
worth
maybe
the
it's
pain.
all of that, right? But yeah, no matter how they prepare you, you still go.
Oh, yeah, of course you will go. It can't discourage. That's true. It can't discourage you. So there's nothing wrong with preparing. I guess so.
Sorry, just to round up that point, the last thing I wanted to say was when you know how like you have all these antenatal visits
Right.
before, but then the mom only gets one visit at a 6-week checkup
Yeah,
after.
I know. The
And I'm
postnatal.
like, the postnatal part, like, why do you only have one? That could be
it's
an
so
opportunity.
sad that we're running out of time. But you know that in Europe, like Switzerland, France, the postnatal care is amazing. They literally do like therapy for the vagina.
Even in
I
the
agree.
UK, the
Everybody
midwives
needs
can
that.
come over.
Yeah, because
So
not
that
just
the
her
women can
body,
let-
but even her mind.
Her
Yes.
mind can kind of, because at first, to be honest, after all that pumping, I almost felt like the difference between me and cow. I mean, really, what is this?
I feel like that's an opportunity for Mom's Spring HQ and maybe Love and Dread.
Yeah, that's why I said we need to talk offline.
A lot of work will be done behind the scenes.
Yes.
So, ladies, don't be like me that is already thinking, hey, should I born?
You will born.
Just
You're part of Mom's Spring team. You will born if you're not careful,
Wow.
like 5.
what? No, please. Initially, funny story, I've always wanted 6 kids, but at some
There you
point, 2 months ago, I was like, oh boy, 2 will be
prophets,
alright.
just saying.
Oh boy, 2, and in between, so just do it one time and you're done.
time.
You know, just 2, I'll be alright. Because 6 times,
Time will tell when we see Michelle's 6 kids.
I beg you.
And on that
pray the
note,
prayer now.
it's
I've
been
told
an
God I don't want
amazing
again.
show.
Don't end this. No, don't end it with 6 children. Amazing show. Thank you guys so much. Don't be afraid. Make sure you do your research and ensure that you always seek help. Don't shadow into yourself and then start to wallow in all the pain and things. And I believe everybody will just be fine at the end of it.
Right.
Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we will see you on our next episode.
And see you on social media. At
Yes,
Momspring
and Momspring
HQ.
HQ. Signing out.
Hi.
Thank you.